Hey, what's up guys, it's Nick2. Today I am in the mood to complain and I'm going to beg for Blizzard to fix their game like this guy is begging me for money. If you don't like negativity and complaining and stuff, feel free to just click off of the video, but I imagine that's why the majority of you guys are here, alright? I want to preface the video by saying that I have spent about 150 hours playing Diablo 4 since the first. I've played way more in all of the betas, etc. But since the game has come out at this point, I've played for about 150 hours. I've gotten my rogue to level 100, I've tested a whole bunch of different builds, I've been making a ridiculous amount of YouTube videos, I've played my Sork, I've played my Druid, whatever. I put a lot of time into the game, and at this point, and a good bit before this point, the cracks really start to show in the game, and I kind of just wanted to highlight a lot of those cracks because it really is severely impacting my enjoyment of the game, and honestly it just makes me sad because the game has such a high potential. I genuinely think the game can be like a 9 out of 10, but right now, might get a lot of hate for this, but right now I think it's like a 6.5 or a 7. Those cracks won't really start to show if you're like level 50, but once you start getting like level 70, level 75, level 80, you're kind of like, what am I doing? What is going on here? And there's a lot of just issues with the game that could so easily be fixed that I just want to highlight. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that the game is bad. I'm not saying that I'm not having fun. And before you start giving me a bunch of comments of, oh, of course you're having fun anymore. You've played 150 hours of the game. You're burning out, stupid content creator. You're not supposed to be able to play the game for 1,000 hours. The whole point is the end game. The whole point is to keep you playing and to give you a lot of time playing. If the game is supposed to only last for 100 hours, I don't know, go play like Legend of Zelda or something. That is not the point of these types of games. Maybe they're not supposed to last for 1,000 hours, but it's supposed to have a pretty substantial end game, and right now I think that is lacking, so I want to cover that. And just a couple other annoyances. With all those disclaimers and stuff out of the way, I'm probably still going to get a ridiculous amount of absurd comments, but regardless, let's just get into it. The first and single biggest problem that I have with the entire game, a lot of other stuff is just annoyances and just kind of weird design decisions. I logged into my SFan to better illustrate this, but my biggest problem with the game right now is the entire gearing reward structure. Basically, what this boils down to is, as long as I am in World Tier 4, no matter what type of enemy that I'm fighting, it doesn't matter if it's some random goblin in the cellar or in the open world, it doesn't matter if I'm level 100 and I'm doing a Tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon, it doesn't matter if I kill Uber Lilith, okay? My chance to get this item or any other best in slot item is exactly the same. So what this boils down to is I don't have a reason to do harder content. I'm just going to do easy content. You can see on my SFan tier, I'm level 55, okay? I'm not even high enough level to equip the ancestral gear that I'm getting from World Tier 4. I played this character for 30 minutes and I instantly got basically a best in slot item. My roll is pretty bad, so you can make the argument, oh, well, you want to farm more to get a better roll. But it doesn't matter. The item power is 776. The entire point of getting this item is simply just the functionality of your storm skills are not werewolf skills. And this is basically a best in slot mandatory item for a certain druid build that I actually want to make. So I'm really happy that I got this. But I should not be allowed at level 55 to play my character for 30 minutes and loot an item and never have an incentive to replace it. You can literally log on to a character. I think max item power on an item is like 830 or something like that. It doesn't matter what content you're doing. I can do some random dungeon and I can loot an 830 item, or I can do a tier 100 dungeon and I can loot a 730 item. What is the point in making my character stronger? What is the point in engaging with any of the endgame systems if I can just do incredibly easy piece of crap content that's in World Tier 4, such as just farming normal dungeons? Everybody and their mom is just down here farming runes of Eridu because there's no reason to do anything else. You have this entire Nightmare Dungeon system that doesn't have a reward structure other than leveling up your glyphs. To me, Nightmare Dungeons are basically just a copy-paste of Mythic Plus. Blizzard made Mythic Plus, and they made this problem to begin with, where Mythic Plus wasn't as rewarding, so guess what they did? They put the cash in the game. You know what happened with Mythic Plus? The participation skyrocketed. Everybody does Mythic Plus now. It's probably one of the best parts of WoW, because you can actually get rewards from it. But the second that you stop getting rewards at like plus 15 or plus 20, guess what? The participation completely tanks because nobody wants to play the end game if they're not getting rewarded for it. There's like a 1 or 10% of people that are competitive. They want to challenge themselves, whatever. The entire integrity of the end game just crumbles when you don't have a reason to make your character stronger if you can literally loot the best items doing nothing. If I can just walk around and I have a higher chance doing Ruins of Eridu normal mode mobs or Champion's Demise with my friends, if that's the most efficient way for me to get the best gear, why should I care about making my character as OP as possible if I can already one-shot everything in Champion's Demise? The whole point of the Nightmare Dungeons is that it is scaling difficulty. So the whole point should be that your item power potential that drops should scale up, or at least, at the very least, you should get higher loot, or sorry, more drops from doing Nightmare Dungeons. It is insane. It is asinine. It does not make any sense. I do not have a reason to play my rogue. I don't want to play my level 100 character because the best way for me to make my power stronger is by doing piece of crap normal mode dungeons where I literally one-shot everything, and it doesn't matter what build I put on. My character is so strong with all the power that I've accrued that I'll one-shot everything pretty much regardless of the build that I'm using. So why should I care about making my character stronger? But that's the whole point that I play this game. That's the whole point that anybody plays any loot game. Do you think anybody would mythic raid in WoW if they didn't drop loot? No, there's no point anymore. There would be some people like Limit and Echo and other guilds that really just like doing mythic progression. I was in a top 10 guild at some point. Would I have raided if there wasn't loot? Probably not. And I think about half the people in my guild wouldn't either, because we want to increase our character power. That is the whole point of this game. That is the whole point of these games in this genre. It is a looter game. Why in a looter game can I get a best in slot item from doing some random crap, but Uber Lilith or tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons doesn't drop better gear? It is unbelievable. I've repeated myself 100 times. This is probably the single worst part of Diablo, and they could simply just fix it by increasing the item power drops per tier that you go higher, so you actually have an incentive to make your character stronger, because the higher Nightmare tier dungeons that you can do, the higher item power that you can acquire. If you want people to be able to just raffle stomp noob content and get literal best in slot items, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe have a really low drop rate or a low chance of getting high item power when you're doing noob content, and make it to where higher Nightmare Dungeons just simply drops more items and has a way higher chance of item power. That would be fine, but the fact that right now the state of the game is just doing random crap dungeons, and that is the most efficient and best way to getting items, that is terrible. Right now they keep trying to nerf the dungeons. Everybody's farming the dungeons because they're so lucrative. You're band-aid fixing the problem. You're not fixing the problem. You cannot blame the players for taking the path of least resistance, which is going to be farming noob content to get all their items, okay? If there's a fastest and most efficient way, they are going to take advantage of it. If you simply cannot get higher item power items from doing noob content, then guess what? Everybody will start doing Nightmare Dungeons. It is not the player's fault for doing what is most efficient and most beneficial to them. It is the developer's fault for not implementing it into the game properly and actually designing the game around doing harder stuff. I was a little bit all over the place, and sorry if I got a little bit animated there, but it is unbelievably egregious that the best thing for me to do is the easiest content in the game, and at this point I feel like I don't have a reason to play my main character, and that's all I want to do. All I want to do is play my main character and make myself stronger, but I do not have an incentive to make myself stronger, which makes me not want to play the game anymore. And all I want to do, all I've wanted to do for a decade is to play this game. So it really just makes me sad, and they could fix it in literally 10 seconds, and I think that as more people get to the end game, they will realize there's no reason for me to make my character stronger because everything gets raffle stomped anyways. Pretty simple thing to follow. I don't understand why this is how the game is right now, and this is the single biggest problem that I have with the game, but I want to highlight some other problems that I have. First of all, I mean, all of us know how unbelievably disgusting the inventory is. I don't even really need to talk about it. Everybody's beat this topic to death. Beat this topic to death, is that a saying? I don't know. Gems taking up inventory space is disgusting. Aspects taking up inventory space is disgusting. If I want to play multiple characters, my inventory looks like this with just aspects on my rogue. You're literally incentivized to save aspects that have high rolls. So I just have an ungodly amount of these. I literally have created mule characters at this point to have a bunch of gear. All of these tabs are literally just for my rogue, and then this one is for my sorc, and my sorc I haven't even played that much. My inventory is permanently full. While leveling up to 100, I got so sick of dealing with inventory that I became apathetic to any items that were dropping. That's the state of the game. You become apathetic to what is dropping, and you stop caring about increasing your power because it is annoying to do it. My entire stash was full of legendaries. I had to spend 2 hours after I hit level 100 sorting everything, scrapping things. It is just a nightmare. I don't want to talk about it too much. If you've played the game for 2 hours past level 60, you're gonna have a bad time. Your inventory is not fun to deal with. Another thing, this is pretty minor. I don't know that it really needs to be fixed all that much, but the reroll costs are like unbelievably egregious here. This one I've only rerolled like 1 time, but this, I think I've rerolled this like twice. I ended up getting what I wanted, but there's certain things, like my amulet here, I guess, 2.4 mil, and it just keeps scaling up. It already costs a lot with the souls. It already costs a lot with all the crafting materials. 2.4 mil, unbelievably expensive. It is just exorbitantly expensive for no apparent reason. I do think that it should be somewhat expensive to get best in slot items. I don't think it should take 20 hours of farming gold to even have a chance to roll my amulet to just the one stat that I want, and there should be a better way of displaying this. If you don't know about this website, this is basically where you can tell what rolls there are, but on the amulet specifically, there's like 100 different rolls. The chance that I'm going to get the chance that I'm going to get what I want is pretty low, so it shouldn't cost me 3 million gold per reroll, scaling like 20% higher every reroll, whatever. Another problem that I have is the Paragon board. The Paragon board, in theory, is really good for somebody like me particularly, who really likes min-maxing their build. You like the integral little, like, oh, I got this tiny little bit of damage increase. Oh, if I take, this 1 point out of here, I can move it up here and get this damage reduction. Or if I take the points out of damage reduction, I can get a little bit of damage. And if this rare node is on this board down here, if I move this board down here, I gain access to the additional bonus because the bonus requirement scales up depending upon how far the rare node is from the bottom. Whatever, there's a lot of little nerdy things and lots of ways to increase your power incrementally, which I quite like. A lot of the nodes are pretty boring, but that's perfectly fine. I think that this is a really good system for somebody like me, and for people that like to do build crafting. It's not overly complicated, but it is not overly simplistic either. I think that they executed it pretty well. I like the glyphs, even though a lot of them are pretty lame. The problem that I have with this, there's about 5 different problems. One of the main problems is that it's difficult to tell where you really want to path because the board doesn't really open up to you and you do not get to test things. So if I want to take like 1 point out of here and just see what it would be like pathing this way, or see, okay, maybe if I take the point, out of down here, I can start pathing up here, whatever, but I can't do that. If I want to replace this node or any of these nodes, guess what I have to do? I have to delete my entire board to do that. And if I'm just leveling up and I just want to think to myself, oh, when you're leveling up, this is what happens, right? You unlock this first board, okay, and then you get your board attachment, and then it's like, all right, which board do you want to choose from out of the 8 boards? You read a node that sounds good, you're like, all right, I guess I'll pick that one, and then you have one board opened up to you. It's hard to tell where you want to go, and most people at this point, they'll just open up a guide. That is not fun gameplay. You should incentivize experimentation, and you should let people do like a testing mode, so I can see where I might want to put all of my points, which boards I want to experiment with, etc. What most people will resort to doing is just going onto d4builds.com, and then they will, or .gg, sorry, and they will just make their build, or they will just simply copy a board from like Maxroll or something. And you can't even like export or import like you can with Dragonflight talents. You have to manually, what I did is I literally put my game into windowed. I put this like this. I was like, okay, I'm going to put this point here, this point here, this point here. And if you mess up 1 point, your life is over, dude. You're like, oh, where is this 1 point? I don't know. There's like 240 points. What am I going to do? Okay. The single biggest problem that I have with the board, which has happened to me multiple times, so let me display this on my D4 builds. I literally make builds for a living. This is what I do. I make YouTube videos of builds. It's my favorite thing to do in games, so Diablo is a perfect game for it. And the Paragon board is a perfect extension of being able to optimize builds, and it's a really fun thing to be able to interact with, right? So previously, I was playing my rogue with traps, right? So for my second board, I was going for the legendary node, where I deal increased critical strike damage to enemies affected by my traps. Then I was thinking, okay, I kind of want to play without traps for a little bit. Traps are a little bit annoying. I better not get any trap meme comments. But traps are a little bit annoying, okay? I want to swap around to something else. So I looked at my board and I was like, all right, I kind of want to try exploit weakness or whatever. How can I put this in? And then I realized, oh, this board is attached to every other board other than my first one. So if I just want to swap this one board out, you know what I have to do? Even if I want to keep all of the rest of these the same, which is what I did, I have to refund every single node in every other board, and I have to redo the entire thing just to swap this one board. Not only is that unbelievably annoying and a time sink, and I'm literally forced to make it in a separate program or a third-party website just so that I can accurately copy and remember what I did, unless I just want to take a bunch of screenshots and stuff. But I have to make it here anyways to even think of my build, to make sure that it works, make sure I unlock my nodes, etc. But not only is that enough salt in the wound and just wasted time, but it costs 39,000 gold per node, okay? You have a total of 225, so if I want to reset my entire board, let's do 225 times 39,000, okay? It cost me nearly 9 million gold just to be allowed to reset my board and experiment with something that is quite honestly already tedious enough to experiment with, because if I want to swap one node around, I gotta delete my whole board. I can't just experiment, okay, how many points is it if I want to get up here? I can't just put in a bunch of points. The way that they need to fix this is, boom, remove the cost. The cost is ridiculous. 2, set up a testing mode so that I can just put points wherever I want, and if there's not a connection, scream at me in massive red letters, "There is not a connection, you need to fix it, your board is disabled until you fix it." That is all that they need to do. Until they do that, this is incredibly annoying and unbelievably punitive. I don't want to swap my build around. I literally make builds for a living. I make YouTube videos on builds for a living, and I am not wanting to try different builds because this exists. Because if I want to swap a board around, it is just like such a waste of time, and I feel bad doing it when I'm streaming too. It's like, oh guys, I gotta do my build homework, I gotta do my board homework, I gotta spend an hour resetting my board, and you guys have to watch me do it, and I have to make it in this little thing here, and I have to put my game into windowed and show this. Like, it's unbelievable, man. Let me just do a testing mode, let me get an import code, let me plop it in there, and just let me play the game. Let me do what I want. Why is it so hard? They literally had all these problems in WoW for the last like 8 years. I don't understand how you make a new game and you have all of the same problems that were present in WoW that has ruined WoW. Imagine in Dragonflight they make the new talent thing, but every time you want to respec, it costs 10,000 gold to do it. Oh, well, no one's going to interact with the talent points. I wonder why no one wants to interact with our new talent tree. You think anyone wants to do this? No. The second that they hit level 50, they're going to go, all right, dude, what am I supposed to do? I'm playing rogue, man. Let me go on max roll. Dude, what do they got? All right, build guides or something. I don't even know what build I'm playing, but sure, all right. I guess I'll do Twisting Blades because, I mean, they don't even have the other skills, so I guess I'm just forced to swap to Twisting Blades. All right, where's the Paragon board? All right, leveling up. All right, here's what they want me to do. All right, I'll do this. The whole point of this system is experimentation, is fun, is messing around with it, choosing literally your own path. And the way that that is implemented in the game right now, it only serves to diminish the entire point of the system, and I hate it. If it functioned like I was saying, where you could just do a testing mode, or it didn't cost money to reset things, or it wasn't unbelievably annoying where you had to go one by one, like, why is there not a reset all button? Why is there not a reset all button? Is this real life? I want to mess with this. It would be a good system if I could mess with it. Unbelievable, man. There's some other problems with the game, like there's way too much CC, there's not enough unstoppable, there's not enough vulnerable applications. Vulnerable damage is the most broken stat in the game, and there's like every build is pigeonholed into the same skills because there's like 3 different ways to apply vulnerable on every class. Necromancer literally sucks without using Bone Spear because they can't apply vulnerable pretty much. Every single Sorc build uses Frost Nova. Rogues are pretty cursed unless you're using Puncture or Blast Trappers for vulnerable application. There's some other stuff that's pretty annoying, but the most egregious things to me are the Paragon board reset thing just costing gold for literally no reason. I would rather make a new rogue at this point that is a ranged rogue than I would swap my Paragon board every 10 seconds to accommodate for a new ranged rogue. Also, like I said, the biggest problem is I want to do the end game. That is what I play these games for. I want to make my character powerful. I want to make videos on best tier 70 plus nightmare pushing rogue build. I don't have a reason to do that. I don't even have a reason to make my character strong because before level 100 I was one-shot nuking everything in the map. So why should I care about getting my character more powerful? That is dumb. That needs to be fixed insta, and it could be fixed insta with a hotfix. Just add a reset all button to the Paragon board too, man, and stop making it cost gold. Sorry for the rant. Sorry for going in 300 different circles and directions with my complaining, but that is what a rant is. Hopefully I got you guys fired up. I don't know, maybe that's not a good thing to do. I'm having fun with the game. The game could literally be 10 times better if I had a reason to do the end game, and if engaging with end game systems like my inventory and the board wasn't the most frustrating and annoying thing to do. Why should I be annoyed to interact with loot and interact with my build in a loot and build game? Blizzard! Alright, see you guys later.